Today on Sports Central, we'll be over a college football game preview and prediction on a big matchup coming up here in the SEC in Week 12 of this 2021 college football season. And it'll be over the Arkansas Razorbacks and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Huge matchup for both these teams as we head into Week 12. We got Arkansas on one side. This team has got a 3-game winning streak heading into this matchup. So overall, Arkansas's got some good momentum heading into a huge matchup against a very talented Alabama football team. And Alabama is a top 3 team, potentially a top 2 team in the nation right now. And for all we know, Alabama could be the one team that is capable of taking down Georgia in the nation right now. So obviously a huge game for both these teams as we head into Week 12. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. Arkansas beat LSU in their last game, 16-13 was the final score there. So overall, solid one for Arkansas. It went into overtime, but I mean, LSU, that's a team that competed right up next to Alabama. So yeah, not a bad win at all for Arkansas. And they've got a 3-game winning streak and are 7-3 heading into this matchup. They're currently ranked 21st in the AP poll as well for Week 12. We don't have the college football playoff rankings quite yet. This is being recorded before Tuesday, so these rankings could be different. But as of right now for the AP poll, we got Alabama at number 2 and Arkansas at 21. Alabama beat New Mexico State 59-3 in their last game. They're 9-1 heading into this matchup with a 4-game winning streak. And if you remember, Alabama did lose to Texas A&M back a few weeks ago. That's the one loss of the season that Alabama does have so far. Game will be on Saturday, November 20th in Tuscaloosa, so Crimson Tide do have the home field advantage. And it's going to be an afternoon kickoff, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Spread currently is Alabama by 20.5. That is a very heavy spread towards the Crimson Tide. Not too surprising, though, seeing how dominant Alabama has been this college football season. But, I mean, nonetheless, that's still a very heavy line towards Alabama. Over-under is 56, and your FPI is going Alabama 92.6%. So, Crimson Tide are heavily favored in this matchup, despite Arkansas being a top 25 team heading into this game. Series history, Alabama leads at 21-8. Win streak is Alabama by 14. We have not seen Arkansas win against Alabama in a long time. It's been over a decade and a half. Last time Arkansas beat Alabama was in 2006. So it has been a long time, and I think this is about as good of a chance as Arkansas is going to get. And quite honestly, I mean, Arkansas is very capable. I mean, this is as capable of Arkansas potentially beating Alabama. I mean, this is the year to do it if you're the Razorbacks. But obviously, it's been a very long time. Alabama has won 14 straight against Arkansas. Here's your stat comparison for this game. Arkansas's got 30 points per game, 22 points allowed, 206 pass yards a game, 233 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, 195 passing and then 151 for rushing. As for Alabama, 44 points per game, 18 points allowed, 322 pass yards a game, 162 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, 206 passing, 83 for rushing. So obviously looking at these here, I mean, Arkansas has all season been a heavy rushing offense, and they've done very well in that category. And I mean, their passing defense, 195 yards allowed for passing, and that's a very impressive stat. I mean, if you can keep that number under 200, you're usually in great shape, and Arkansas has done exactly that. And as for Alabama, once again, very high-powered offense, as Alabama usually does, and Bryce Young, of course, has only improved over the course of this 2021 season, and he's put up over 300 average pass yards a game so far this season. Some recent matches, both these teams, Arkansas, of course, beat LSU there, 16-13, beat Mississippi State. They were ranked 17th at the time, 31-28, and they, of course, beat UAPB. That was after their loss to Auburn, which, of course, that Auburn game was a 15-point loss. That was probably the toughest loss of the season. I mean, you're coming off of 2 straight brutal losses. I mean, they lost to Georgia on the road like 37-0. They lost to Ole Miss on the road by 1. I mean, that was a gut punch. Losing to Ole Miss by 1, I can imagine. And so, of course, that Auburn loss was also tough, but it's good for Arkansas. This team has gotten back some good momentum with 3 straight quality wins. And as for Alabama, beat New Mexico State 59-3, beat LSU 20-14. That was a close game, as close as it gets, and LSU really put up a big fight in that game, even though Alabama did pull it out in the end. Beat Tennessee 52-24, beat Mississippi State 49-9. And, of course, there's that loss to Texas A&M back on October 9th, 38-41. That still is a shocker to this day. Some key points for this one. Arkansas, of course, is 7-3, starting to build back some good momentum. And, yeah, once again, Arkansas, that is going to be huge for them. They've got plenty of talent. I mean, they're capable of competing right up next to Alabama. But with it being on the road, I mean, that's going to be kind of the tough thing here for Arkansas, is having to travel on the road to a very tough environment. I mean, Alabama, it's a tough place to play without a doubt, and especially when, I mean, the Crimson Tide, this is a team that's only improving, and usually when Alabama takes one loss in the regular season, they don't lose again, and we've seen that happen many times before. So, I mean, Arkansas, there's a lot on the line here, but yeah, for Alabama, one loss of the season was to Texas A&M once again. Bryce Young, one of the best in the nation for sure. I mean, for him, by the way, he's a very young quarterback. I believe he's a freshman quarterback. He might be a sophomore. I can't remember for sure, but he's a young quarterback, and I mean, that's a great sign for the future for Alabama. I mean, you've got a quarterback for the next year or two that is outstanding. So, I mean, he's a young quarterback that is playing like one of the best in the nation. So, yeah, he's going to be tough to stop, and college football playoff chances, of course, are on the line for Alabama here. Because obviously if you take another loss, you are out of the college football playoff picture. Basically 2 losses and you're out. So a lot on the line here for Alabama, but of course for Arkansas, I mean, this is a football team that still has got some good potential to make it to a high-tier bowl game. Probably not a New Year's Six bowl game. I'd probably say that's not in reach. I mean, you got to win this game if you want any chance of being in a New Year's Six bowl game. But, I mean, you could potentially make it to the Citrus Bowl or the Outback Bowl, which is not a bad bowl game, especially for a football team like Arkansas. But yeah, this is a huge chance for them, huge opportunity to pull off what would be a shocking upset and a major upset for sure. But in the end, let's get to the prediction here for Arkansas and Alabama. I'm going to go for Alabama here. 35-20 is my predicted final score. And I just think the Crimson Tide, too talented of a football team. And with them being at home, a lot on the line. And once again, Nick Saban's teams usually don't lose 2 regular season games. So I think I'm going to go Alabama here, 35-20. I just think, I mean, Arkansas, they're going to keep it close, I think, for a while. But Alabama is just the better football team in the end. And I'm going to say 75% chance that Crimson Tide do win it. I'm going to take Arkansas to cover, though. I mean, the spread is like 20 points right now towards Alabama. I'm going to take Arkansas to cover. I mean, potentially it's a tough spread. I mean, it's going to be a tough spread to bet on for sure. But as of right now, I'm going to take Arkansas to cover that 20-point spread. I just don't think, I mean, Alabama winning by 20. I mean, Arkansas is a very good football team, and they got some good wins under their belt in the past couple of weeks. So I think Arkansas keeps it close. It's going to be a close game in the first half especially. I mean, that's kind of been the trend for Alabama, is they've got close games at first, and then usually they pull away. And I think that somewhat happens in this game. It's going to be close for a long time, but Alabama pulls it out in the end, 35-20. And over-under is 56. I'm taking the under for this game just barely. Over-under is also very tough to bet on for this game. I mean, it could easily go over. I mean, if Alabama scores upwards of 40, I mean, if you think Alabama is going to score 40, you should probably bet the over, because, I mean, Arkansas, I can imagine, is probably going to score 15-20 at least. So, but anyway, that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this game, and I appreciate you guys all watching. As always, stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you later.